us last week. Today we are going to be working with color pencils, and you could be using many things. You could be using soft pastel pencils. You could be using wax color pencils. You could be using oil color pencils. There's a bunch of different types of color pencils, but I'm just going to use your typical wax color pencils because this is the common one that everybody for sure has. And anybody who has any nicer ones, you know, by all means, use the nicer ones. I'm also using a limited palette, okay? I'm not gonna use all of these colors, but these are all very, very vibrant color. Actually, from some, it's even the same. Like these two are exactly the same. But I'm just using vibrant colors, okay? So I have two types of yellow, a lemon and a cadmium. I have a couple of pinks and reds. And orange, a couple of blues, from French ultramarine blue to more of a greenish blue, cobalt slash kind of cyan blue. Color pencils, because they're company based, they all make their own color sub, which is kind of hard to remember because they all have like sky blue, and sky blue doesn't exist in all the other medias. Like oil painting doesn't have sky blue. So they name all their colors like kind of a particular way, but I'm just going to call them by their kind of traditional wording, okay? And then I have a couple of greens here. I have a sap green, I have a permanent green, and then I have a few browns, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to use that. We're going to discuss how portraits change and what kind of portrait we're going to be doing today. So if you're ever doing a more classical portrait, you are going to end up needing to buy a bunch of different neutral color pencils, okay? So if you guys take a look at the picture that I just posted on there of, like, I think it's Keanu Reeves. So this is more on the color pencils leaning towards realism. But when you're going to go so much in depth with color pencils, first you need a huge range of also gray tones, okay? Gray tones are really, really good to have. Blue grays, purple grays, any type of gray tone is phenomenal. I know most people don't have such a big palette at home, so they don't have the ability to, you know, have all those gray tones. If you're not a color pencil artist and it's just going to be something temporary, you definitely don't need to have all these different types of gray tones. If you're just trying to explore and use it as a fast medium, you don't need to have all these extra grays and all these extra stuff like that. So if you guys are ever going to try to go super crazy with it, then just go ahead and buy like 100 pencil set, particularly gray tones, okay? But if you guys are just going to experiment with color pencils, any 12 or 24 pencil set is more than enough. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to have close to 24, okay? But again, 12 to 24 is perfect. 18 pencil set works really good. Today, what we're going to be doing is something more fun, something more whimsical. This one is not done with color pencil. This one is done with soft pastel pencils, which I also have in the studio, but I know that many of you guys might not have. So what we're going to be doing different on our picture, we're actually going to be using complementary colors, okay? So for our picture today, it's complementary colors, what we're really going to try to be working with. So the projects are much more conceptual this way. It's working much more with theory and kind of taking that whole approach. If you guys wanted to, you could also do this project with oil pastels. You could do this project with soft pastels. You could do this project with a different subject matter. For example, you could try a dog. You could try a figure, not just a portrait, okay? The thing with a portrait is that it gives me a lot of order for me to talk about. It gives me a lot of nice structure. So again, really important for me to do the portrait just in order for drawing kind of ordering, staying in those good lines. So here, this is a very fundamental project to do with artists who are barely using color. And I know some of you guys have used color a lot more, and I know some of you guys have been using color a lot less. And again, I'm not going to be as playful as this artist. His name is John Smolko. You could the name is on the picture. So if you guys look at the underneath the picture, you guys could read his name there. you guys could Google him, and all of his works are kind of whimsical this way, okay? Really fun, very loose, almost iPad style art. So yeah, you could do this literally with many different mediums, all right? And there's basically just a big theory behind this. So if you're using a lot of yellows and you're using a lot of oranges, which is what he has, yellows and oranges, the opposite of yellows and oranges will actually be blues and purples, okay? So a lot of the shadows that he gets are a complementary color of what we have over here, all right? If you guys wanted something more realistic, I would use a tone paper. I was actually really looking into doing a tone paper, but as I drew on it a little bit, it's very hard for you guys to see through the camera. So it's much easier for you guys to see on white paper. So even though I do prefer tone paper, white color actually looks nicer on tone paper as well. It's gonna be really hard for you guys to register on the camera. So if you guys have tone paper, I would use that, like a light gray, or if you guys have like a light brown. I have a sketchbook that has like 20 different types of tones only in the brown family. Then I have another one that has like 20 different types of tones only in the gray family. You could, those are pretty fun to use. But if you guys just have one tone, I would definitely recommend you guys use a gray or a tan color over the white color. The reason why I'm using white is that it's easier for you to see. But if I go over here, my next, my project, I was gonna actually work it on just tone tan paper like this one. But again, for camera purposes, we'll have to do without this, all right? So it's taking a camera choice. All right, and today, the two main things that we're gonna do is we're gonna first draw the guy, figure out the drawing of our character, which is not him, by the way. This is gonna be our character. We are gonna paint with complementary colors, okay? So we are gonna be using a little bit of local color, but not much, okay? It's mostly all gonna be complements, all right? And the second part that we're gonna do is we're gonna divide our lights and our darks. Remember, if you guys wanna do this with something completely different, you could just see what I'm doing today and just kind of get the idea and then try it out with something a completely different subject matter, okay? All right, so here we go. So we have our character here. The information of the guy is on the picture itself, like the photographer and all that stuff. That way he gets the deserved credits because it's somebody's photograph, it's not mine. So yeah, so you guys could Google any more images of him, but that's pretty much gonna be he's gonna be our model for today. I'm not gonna focus on the hand. I'm just gonna kind of strictly focus on the portrait. But if you guys wanna do the hand, by all means, you're more than welcome to do so, all right? All right, so I'm gonna stop the screen share and you guys can see my picture over here. So stop screen share. Now, what are we gonna be using for drawing, all right? If you guys had a tone paper, I would probably draw with a brown for sure, okay? If you guys had a gray paper, I would draw with a brown or a gray. I don't like silver, so I'm even gonna take this guy out. I don't know what else to do here. I prefer grays, I definitely don't like silver. So if you guys had a gray paper, I would draw with a gray, I would draw with browns, or you could also draw with graphite, okay? If you guys are more gutsy and you guys wanna draw with a little bit of more of local color, you could actually pick a color that's in his skin tone, okay? When I see him, I see both a burnt sienna and I see a greenish gray, okay? So for my sketch, I could use either one of these two, okay? I don't know if you guys can register them pretty well, but I could use any one of those two. If you guys, this is more like a olive green. This one here is more like a burnt sienna. So if you guys could have a couple of colors, just use something that would work. If you, for some reason, did not have a person with this skin tone and you had a person with a more reddish skin tone, you could use a cadmium or a pink, okay? That's just really fun and that's just really gutsy. Because my guy has some siennas, but he also has some greens, I'm gonna use my green color, all right? I'm just gonna sharpen it and leave my shavings here. The color pencils, I do like to use a pencil sharpener because sometimes they're all weak, and with the when I'm sharpening them with the knife, they just tend to like break and break and break and break and break and break. But you guys could use your pencil sharpener, or you guys could use just the good old knife that I also have over here. All right. So whichever one works, you guys could definitely use. All right. So again, when I start sketching, I'm going back to my very, very early foundations, okay? I'm going back to my Charles Bartz drawing. I'm going back to my fundamentals. If you guys practice any of the other methods that I showed you, I think the Loomis method and the Riley method, you guys could use those. Those are, you know, if they work for you, they work for you. I just don't use them much more. I prefer more classical approach. That's just me though. If another method works for you, that's it. It just works for you. All right. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to find my angles, and I'm going to just try to block the big picture just using my kind of olive green color, kind of funny looking green, really nice actually, but I'm measuring some of my angles. I'm doing some of my straight lines. Remember, always, always simplify your artwork. I'm gonna make my lines a little darker in a second because I want you guys to see them. Right now, I know you guys could probably barely see them. So you guys are probably gonna, it would have been perfectly fine if we just would have worked on brown paper. But I'm just gonna go darker. I shouldn't be going this dark, but I am pushing this value just for camera purposes. Okay, so the side of the face, the fro part of the hair, the chin, I'm gonna be trying to draw right here. And the reason why I would prefer that this line wasn't so dark is if I have mistakes, I'm not committing to this line. But if I make it a little dark, I am committing. You know, it's okay. It's just a study, and it's just for you guys to actually be able to see the reference. Okay. All right. So I'm going to block in the forehead. Again, simplifying everything. I'm in the game of simplification. I want to see where breaks happen. Okay. I want to see angles. And I would prefer, again, if I were in the studio, you always see me drawing standing up. Or if I'm in the studio, you always see me drawing on a flat surface like this. I have a better perspective. Right now, the drawing to me looks fine, but I'm looking at it from a one-point perspective. So it's actually away from me. Later on, I might have to tweak it a little bit. But like I said, I understand the limitations of working on a table. And that's okay. I mean, as long as you understand, and if it's just a study, it's just a study. All right. I'm going to do his brow. Goes gently up. All right. The thing with here is that I have my setup for like all the mediums except oil paint. Oil paint, I still go into the studio and I record those classes, but the rest I just kind of record from my house. So I have the setup just to, and I don't have a drawing course in the house actually. All right. So just measuring angles, figuring out angles, bigger lines. I'm just trying to structure just a bigger portrait, okay? Remember, if you guys were using the Riley method or the Loomis method, they would have you do like a circle. The Loomis method, I get them confused now, but the Loomis method has broken the portrait into 4 different sides. The Riley method has the portrait broken into 3 different sides. The Loomis uses your eyes as the center, and that's kind of like the center line, and then you have the top one for the forehead, the bottom one for the base of the nose / a little below that. And the Riley method has the 1/3 for the eyebrow here, for the brow, the eyebrow area instead of the eyes themselves. And then it has the other 1/3 that goes to the top lip, okay? I just draw by observation, so I understand those rules, but the other ones have you do a circle, then they have you do the angle, then they have you do the square part of the face, this kind of square front part of the face like this. Again, that's your call. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I just don't need to do that, and I prefer just to draw more free. All right. So I'm just trying to block, figure out big information, figure out the brow areas, figure out, you know, how this thing is actually gonna be working. The nose is here. You know, the ball of the nose is there. The nostril is back over here. Once I have the center of the nose, I also want to find the center of the lip here. So this is going to be the area above the top lip right here. But more important than this, I want to find the line between your gum and your top lip itself, okay? So it's going to have that same angle. Then it's going to have a little curve that goes down. And then on this side, it's going to have a curve that goes more straight. All right? So I have all the important information, okay? If you guys can't see, I'm going to just go a little darker in a second. But this is the line of my top lip. That's the base of my nose. That's my line of my eyes. This is my brow. That is my forehead. And that is my afro, okay? So it's kind of all broken into very, very orderly sections, all right? So that said, you know, I'm just gonna go ahead, start filling in the guy. Just start doing what he doesn't have, you know, the top lip. Let's start doing the bottom lip. Don't forget that the bottom lip should be less wide than the top lip. Okay, it's more narrow. All right. Just do the lips. And this part, you guys could take your time, by the way. Those of you who did the watercolor class last week, I took a break while I was waiting for you guys to catch up. And I know some of you guys are in the watercolor group too. And I forgot to replay the thing. So, so the video is actually quite short. It's missing a lot of the actual class itself. So my bad on that one. You guys could either improvise it and try to free do it, or just later on, just kind of, I'll just do it again, okay? All right, so again, this might be the angle from which I'm looking at things, but I see he has a more dramatic angle than he does in the picture. You know, I'm okay with that. I could live with it. It's not the end of the world. So when I see my picture, he has a deeper angle than that one. That might have to do with where I'm actually looking at my work. All right, so big infos here. I'm measuring the angles just to verify that things are looking okay. All right, and because my color is very forgiving, I'm really in no way super concerned of what's going to happen here. All right. So on the back side, he has a lot of negative space. We don't have to do too much to the negative space. All right. So he has his hair that would come further back over here. He has his neck that would come further back over here, but it's very, very dark. So again, you guys could draw as much as you want to do those things, or you guys could omit a little bit of that. But if I'm going to draw that, I would still follow just the shape of the chin right here, then the jaw, then the head, then the ear, and then the hair. Okay, so, and then the neck would come from behind the ear over here, just somewhere around there. All right, so that looks good. You know, I'm kind of happy with where my drawing is going. Now, just like what we do in many of our cases when we're drawing, we're gonna start mapping our shadows, okay? That's super important. That's not just for color pencil, that's not just for graphite, that's not just for oil painting, that's not just for watercolor, that's pretty much for the approach for all the works that you do. Later on, you could block in color without having to do this block in lines, but I know it helps many of you. So if it helps many of you and it makes our drawing better, you know, by all means, let's go ahead and do that, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off with the nose. The nose to me is really important. I'm gonna map my shadows a little darker than what I would actually map them, just for you guys to really see where I'm putting these shadows inside. I'm making the drawing more organic. I'm no longer doing this super square drawing. This time I'm taking a little bit of fun now and just kind of changing the angles. Just trying to make this picture a lot more organic. All right. Up to now, does anybody have any questions with this part in terms of the drawing, or you guys are okay? All right, usually silence is okay. Silence means that you guys are doing okay. All right, he has very small eyes, or not small in terms of width, but just like they're very close. Sometimes that crazy light that he has will do that to your eyes. He has a lot of drama in the lighting. All right, so I have one eye. The eyes kind of dip down a little bit. They're kind of sad, kind of looking eyes, or eyes that have been through a bit. They have a lot of, they have like melancholy to them, or struggle. I guess you could better say struggle. All right. So I'm just mapping my shadows. Don't forget, there's no trickery to mapping. It's just figuring out where something is light versus where something is dark. All right, so I just did the mapping of the face. I'm gonna go over, I could see where my mistakes are too. Like for example, the nose might just be just a little too square, so I'm gonna round it off right here. I'm gonna pull the nostril in to about here, then pull the shadow of the nostril back. And do the right nose, the right nostril, okay? Just a little bit more detail, just a little bit of work. Keep on mapping. Map the cast shadow of the nose onto the face itself. That looks a little too dramatic, so I'll go ahead and I'll fix it. But this is all just mapping, okay? So this one was a little too dramatic. You could always erase it if you wanted to. If I were drawing lighter, I wouldn't care about erasing because I know just the lightness of the initial sketch would be invisible for later. But because I am not drawing light, because I want to show you guys the drawing, I do have to come in and erase. Okay. So I'm going to do the top lip, just a little bit of the top lip. Draw the shadow below the top lip. Ooh. I still think that's too much because I don't have enough space here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get rid of it a little bit. Like I said, if I was drawing light, no worries. But because I am not drawing light, I have to depend on my eraser a little bit. All right, so now this gives me more space for the little beard. That's how I noticed that the lips were in the wrong place. The beard did not fit, or the mustache. I guess the beard is part, the mustachy part of the beard. I knew that was wrong just because of the spacing. All right. And I think I will be okay with my map. Sorry. All right. So now that I map most of my shadows, you know, that looks pretty good. I like where most of the info kind of came to be. I'm going to change this a little bit. But what now? This is kind of like the stuff that we want to be figuring out better and better and better. What now? What now? What now? What now is always the next question, okay? So again, we're working with complementary colors, all right? We already discussed that. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to map our shadows because the picture has both red, you could call orange, and a little bit of a greenish yellow. I could use anything that varies from a purple to a light blue for my complementary colors, okay? So I am gonna use this two colors. I don't have a purple, so that kind of limits what I could do, but I do have a French ultramarine blue or a violet blue, and I do have this kind of cerulean blue. So I am gonna use those. And I don't wanna overcommit at this point, okay? So I'm not gonna go straight up into my French ultramarine blue. I'm not gonna go into this one first. I'm gonna go into my cerulean blue, okay? And this is also gonna give me some flexibility. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go in here and we're gonna start mapping our shadows. So I'm gonna go anywhere from this line to wherever it's dark. I'm not gonna crosshatch yet, okay? Listen to that yet part, because I will crosshatch, but I will crosshatch later. I will actually build up my hatching, but remember, I'm not gonna do that yet, all right? So using my cerulean blue here, just anywhere that I have a shadow, I am gonna go with my cerulean blue and just hatch with that lighter color that you guys have. If you guys want to play around, and let's say you guys have a colored pencil that's more of a gray purple, one of my sets has a really nice gray purple color pencil, you guys could use that, okay? You guys could use that gray purple color pencil. Mine, this blue is actually the lightest of my cold colors, and since he is also orange, this blue works phenomenal with me, okay? All right. And just hatch. Remember, there's no need to do anything else. Cross hatching, I will introduce, by the way. This picture will have cross hatching, but it's not at the beginning. That is something that we're gonna find after. So again, so today I wanna map my shadows, set the tone for the big values, and that's gonna be it. Next session, we're gonna be working the details. The details take a little longer if you guys are gonna do them cleanly. And later on, if you guys wanna have that fun zigzag that the artist had, like the one I showed you, you could do that on top, okay? You don't have to do that too early. Sometimes doing too much of an organic drawing at the beginning really gives you a hard time trying to register the volume on the drawing. So right now I'm just doing very simple hatching. And that said, I might even have some fun with the zigzags, okay? I'm not probably gonna do them till later. All right, so this lip is too high. I could see that already. But I'm just gonna fix it now instead of having to worry about it later. It should be more flat here. So it should be a little longer and dips down very fast. All right. There we go. So I'm just blocking in my value, blocking in my value. You guys could do anybody that you guys want, but just block in the value. Even the teeth, I'm gonna go in here and darken the teeth up a bit. I'm doing the shadow below the teeth. All right. Block, 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 block. The only one thing that I do when I hatch, and you guys will remember this from all the previous drawings, I try not to just do a big hatch from here to here. Even though my hatching is going in the same direction, I still stop on the chin area. I still stop on the side of the face. I still stop on the forehead area. I still stop on the beard area. I still stop on the neck. So I don't go like this. I go one short one and another short one and another short one. But I always try to have a little bit of families that I could be blocking off. All right. So I'm gonna hatch this guy in. And remember, complementary colors, orange and yellow, blue and purple. Orange is complementary to blue, purple is complementary to yellow, vice versa. Doesn't matter which one you call it first. So complementary portraits are really vibrant. So his forehead was a little too narrow. We'll fix that now. His face is a little too square. We'll round it off now. All right. That's why I have to emphasize how important it is to make your gesture drawing very light. If you don't make this gesture drawing very light, then what you do, particularly using a wax medium, which color pencil is a wax medium, you pretty much commit to it, okay? So you're giving yourself no flexibility if you're drawing dark. But if you guys draw light, then you guys give yourself all the flexibility that you guys want. I'm only doing a few hairs right here. I'm not doing many hairs. I'm just doing a few hairs to imply the entire kind of a hairline that he has. But I'm not doing like a pattern. I'm not doing a sequence. I'm just finding the important hairs, okay? So if I measure, this is kind of where that little V shape comes in. All right. Draw with your arm, loosen up that hand, loosen up that arm. Don't draw with the wrist. Don't draw like this, okay? Draw like that. For big blocks. All right. And that's it. So I pretty much just blocked in my big lights. I pretty much blocked in my big lights. So this is important for the first step, okay? Does anybody have any questions up to here? Are you guys doing okay? All right. If I don't hear anything, that means that you guys are doing okay. I'm doing a good job explaining myself. All right. All right. So now we're going to go into our midtones, okay? So the midtone is something very tricky, okay? The midtone is the color that we are as individuals, not the color that, you know, our shadows are, or not the color our highlights are. I always say highlights are affected by the color of light and the absence of color. It's too much white. There's too much intensity on light. And shadows are affected by the absence of color as well, and the use of the shadow itself. So both lights and darks are affected by something else in the atmosphere, while the skin tone or the midtone is the color that he actually is. So the color that we find here, right here, the color that we find here, the color that we find here, that is the actual color that he as an individual is, okay? And that is where I go back again. And that's where I tell you that I see more of this kind of orange brown. So I see more of this burnt sienna, and I see the same olive green that I sketch with, okay? If you guys don't have olive green and you guys don't have burnt sienna, you guys could go very gutsy and just go into your oranges and yellows, like these two colors here. And then you guys could add a brown gently on top. So this would be your combination, all right? But I do have this olive green out of the whole bunch of colors that I don't have. I do have these ones. And that's maybe because I'm always looking for these colors. I use these colors for oil painting. I use these colors for watercolor. I use these colors for acrylic painting. So most sets that I try to get, I always try to get 2 or 3 earth colors, and hopefully they're in the yellows and in the orange family. All right, so here we go. The weaker one of the color is this same olive green color. This time around though, when I hatch, I wanna make sure that I hatch with the movement of the object, okay? That might be confusing to some people, might be very easily understood to others. So let's say we have an apple, okay? Let's say we have a world. I'll show you in both cases. So this is my apple, and there we go. There's some pits in here. All right. All right, so that's my apple, all right? And let's go even more abstract. Let's say we have a world. Okay, if we move objects in one axis, we get the illusion of dimension, okay? I'm using the blue, that way you guys can see. So if I move one line, 2-dimensional, okay? But then if I start moving a little round line, then I start moving a little round line, and another round line. Then if I start moving a little round line, and another round line, all of a sudden there is some movement to that sphere, okay? It's not a great movement, but there is some movement to that sphere. Now, if I do a horizontal axis, then you could start really emphasizing the movement of this globe, okay? We'll call it a globe just because it looks like a globe, okay? So if we understand that things have movement in a vertical and a horizontal axis, it emphasizes our 3-dimension, okay? So this stuff is super, super important, and it's super important now. Now let's go to a more complex shape. Let's go to this apple. So this apple, I know it has a diagonal axis now, but we'll still call it a vertical axis versus a horizontal axis, okay? So this is my vertical axis right here. And this here is my horizontal axis. Using this line as a reference, I'm going to start drawing a horizontal axis. All right. And all of a sudden, this complex apple-shaped thing feels like it has movement, okay? It's no longer a simple two-dimensional shape. It's a much more complex three-dimensional shape, all right? And the only thing that I used were lines that had specific movement with the shape of the objects, okay? Usually the objects tell you what shape they are. If you guys want to figure out the shape of the portrait, you guys could always go to the YouTube channel and check out the first drawing video that I have. And the first drawing video that we have for the adult group just talks about planes, okay? Just talks about how the human face works in terms of planes, not in terms of smooth round shapes, but more of blocky three-dimensional shapes, all right? So we have to do this now in order to make the picture work. So I'm gonna go into my conservative color. I'm gonna go into my olive green. Here it's called, oh, it's nameless, so cool. So it has no name, all right? But now I'm gonna move my lines in the direction of the forehead. So I'm not just gonna hatch in a random direction. This has a purpose. So I see the forehead will move this way. Here it will move straight. And then on this side, it'll move down. You could almost follow the lines of the head that I made, okay? So here, I'm gonna move this one more straight. On this one, on the side of the face, I'm gonna move it a little bit more straight. And I am going over the blue. I don't mind if my color overlaps. Overlaps are real stuff, all right? Overlaps is the basic trick of making things look like they're blending, all right? So I am adding this a little bit over the blue. Later on, I'll push the blue back into this, all right? So now the nose moves like a circle here, okay? So I'm gonna do a plane that goes up this way. Then I'm gonna do a plane that goes diagonal this way. Then I'm gonna do a plane that goes diagonal the other way, or almost horizontal, okay? And this might be a good challenge, trying to figure out the way lines move, okay? This is even important for painting. When you guys do a very confident painting and you guys just wanna do one brush stroke instead of 20, this has to be part of why you're only gonna do one brush stroke this way, okay? Not 20 and 30 that go in all kinds of different directions. This is much more important, okay? That's where the confidence of drawing and painting kind of merge together, all right? So much better. I'm gonna go just a little darker. I actually like my intensity on my lines, but when I look at the screen, I'm all like, whoa, I guess you guys cannot see what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna go a little darker, all right? Figure out the planes. Again, if you guys are having a hard time figuring out the planes, go to that first video. It's right there. Oh, and by the way, if you guys are doing a different portrait, and if you guys are having a hard time drawing that portrait, please, 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 send me the image before you guys start to go crazy with the color pencil. Because sometimes I get students that do a very good color pencil or they do a very good watercolor, but their drawing is quite off. So at that point, it almost makes no sense to go back and fix the drawing because there's so much work done on top of it. If you guys have that problem of, you know, not understanding the drawing very well, or you guys just want to verify that the drawing is okay and you guys want to move on to the color pencil, please send me the sketch that you guys did before going into the next part, okay? It just makes it a lot easier on all of us. All right, it's looking good. All my lines are going where they need to be going. That's good, that's really good. And this might actually be, for some of you, this might be the hardest part of the drawing, and it is not easy, okay? So if this is the hardest part of the drawing for some of you, it's okay. This is why I'm here. I'm here to help. I'm here to figure out what's going on if things are not working. All right. But understanding the movement of a portrait is very simple if you guys have done it for a very long time. But if you guys have not done portraits for a long time, this might be a little less intuitive. Like, what do you mean the movement of a portrait? Well, everything has movement. The movement of the chin. The movement of the jaw, like over here, okay, or over here. All that stuff is important. In the shadow, it's not as important because we cannot see it. Like here, we cannot see many of the things that are happening because of the value intensity. But on the highlights, it becomes a lot more of an issue. All right. And once I'm done with this one, I think I'm done with my yellow, okay? So I'm gonna put my olive green. I'm just calling it yellow, but I know it's more of a green. I'll put my olive green on the side. My second more important color is this kind of reddish sienna color. That's what's gonna yield some of the oranges on the picture. As I was telling you guys, if you wanna go gutsy, you guys could go straight into the orange. I'm just gonna go into the sienna because I have a color. And I'm just gonna emphasize the movement of my forehead, of my skin. And later on, I might even add more oranges. That's something that I'm gonna think about. All right. A lot of orange. This guy might be actually more purple than the color that I would really want to use, but yeah, it's a good start. Part of art is problem solving, and you guys don't have any problems and there's nothing to solve. So let's make some problems. Part of creativity is problem solving. Everybody their own, but I have some friends that have done the same style of oil painting, the same kind of work forever and ever and ever and ever, and never have changed a bit on it. And it's beautiful work, you know, but I get bored of doing the same stuff. And I tell them, like, you guys don't get bored? It's like, well, yeah, but you know, in order to master something, you got to do it for many years. I'm like, that's true. That's really true. Like just a specific medium, you got to do it for many years. But that's the other question. Creativity needs to needs to explore. It needs to get out. But yeah, everybody has their own philosophy and their own theories. But I prefer to try a lot of things. Like when I was younger, I did everything. I did color pencils, I did watercolors, I did oils. And now that I'm older, I still enjoy doing everything. I couldn't see myself just doing oil paintings. I'm really good at oil paintings. I would say that's probably what I've been doing the most, but I would never see myself doing oil or drawing for that matter. All right, so I'm just adding this kind of brighter red-yellow combination. And this time around, remember, things have two axes. So like on the lips, I went in this direction with the yellow, but I'm going on the horizontal axis direction with my burnt sienna, and that's perfectly valid. There's nothing that says nay on that. All right, that looks pretty good. Some sienna in here. More sienna in there. Later on, if you guys need to blend the color away, just blend it away with a little bit of that yellow color. Like for example, like, ooh, this looks good, but I wish it had a little bit of transition. Just come back with a yellow and find that transition. All right. Come back with a yellow and find, almost use your yellow as your blending blending stub, even though you don't have a blending stub. Like I feel like I'm missing a lot of yellow here. All right. All right. So in big picture, this is looking pretty decent. This is looking where things need to be. You know what I'm gonna do right now, because I'm still gonna have a bit of time. I'm gonna work strictly on the nose. I could work on the whole thing, but it's gonna take a lot of time. If when I work on the nose, you guys wanna try the whole technique on the entire portrait, you guys are more than welcome to do so, okay? I'm just gonna finish this orange up, and in the next 10, 15 minutes, I'm gonna work only and only on the nose. And you guys could later do this at home too. By the way, for those of you who joined a bit late, I was telling the group that was already in that if you guys wanted to do this on tone paper, it's much nicer on tone paper, okay? The reason why I'm doing it on white paper is just because I want you guys to see the color better. If I were doing it on this tone paper here, the whites would look a lot nicer because, I mean, look at the white here versus the white here, and you cannot see the white over there. It actually looks more like a gray. So the whites would have been really nice on tone paper, but the drawing itself, this part that I'm doing, would be very hard for you guys to see. So if this were my drawing, I would definitely would have worked on tone paper, but it is my drawing, but I actually want you guys to see the stuff that's going on, okay? All right, so I'm just gonna finish this part up here, and then I'm just gonna work on the nose, okay? And remember, because I'm drawing with complementary colors, there's no right or wrong answer for this picture, okay? There's nothing that's telling me that what I am gonna be doing is wrong in terms of color, but I am gonna be using my violet blue over here, right? So now I'm gonna really deepen up some of my shadows here, and I wanna show my hatching line. I wanna make sure that hatching line is there. And my value is actually there too. The value is my color intensity. How dark or how light my color is. So I'm just hatching away, hatching away, hatching away. I'm gonna go even darker here. Why not? Hatch away. But I don't like that French ultramarine color too much. It's plain and simple, it's just not one of my favorite colors. That's just the simple part. And the other part, always seeing just one color, to me looks quite boring, okay? So I'm using the French ultramarine right now, but I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go heavier with my cerulean blue, this blue, in a second, okay? And remember, if you guys had different types of blues, you guys could definitely use different types of blues. The only reason why I'm using this palette is because that's the palette that I have at home. And I want to work a limited palette because I know you guys have, well, unless you guys have a lot of color pencils, and yay. But if you guys don't, then you guys will be working with almost the same limited palette as I would be working. All right, I like my blue, but I am gonna go back to my cerulean blue. So here, sorry. I'm gonna go back to my cerulean blue. Do a little bit of a turquoise transition. All right, so that looks pretty good. Now I'm finding myself new problems. I'm finding myself that those reds are not as intense as I could have made them. They're not as red and they're not as orange as I might actually want them. So here, if I wanted to up my orange value, I would just hatch a little bit of orange. Here, if I wanted to up my orange value, I would just hatch a little bit of orange. Okay, and later on, if the orange is too intense, all right, let's do these a little here. I could later, or well, hold on, it is too intense, but I also see a more red color. I'm also going to hatch a more red color in here. I'm going to hatch a more red color in here. And then we could go back to our neutral palette. These guys over here. All right. And I'm just painting with complementary color theory. Opposite of each other on the color wheel. If I had a more gray palette like the one I have in the studio, on the soft pastels, I think Basil has worked with me with those. I could get more realistic tones with a gray palette, okay? And I could do that too with this palette. It's just with this one, it's almost counterintuitive because I have so much vibrance in my color. It's like, why am I using such vibrant color and I don't want vibrant colors? But when I'm working with a lot of gray colors, it's just like, yeah, well, everything is gray, so might as well just make it gray. All right. So, limited palette, there we go. I like my colors. I still feel that some of my colors here could have been a little bit more gray. So I could still go back to my French ultramarine, like colors like this, and start pushing some blue gently over the green. The blue, the violet blue. Sorry, where's my violet color? It's not violet. Oh, it's over here. My violet color here is gonna grade down some of my skin tones. So instead of having such a heavy saturation, it's now gonna feel a little earthier. Maybe make these a little darker too. And again, complementary colors, complementary colors. So again, this is more playful. This is more fun than the other ones. And if I'm going to go into my highlights, I'm actually going to go into a cold pink. So I'm going to go into more of a reddish purple pink. And I'm very carefully, very lightly, just going to touch some pinks before I go into my lights. Okay, and that's eventually what I'm going to do to the entire portrait. Right now, the nose looks kind of funny because it's just the nose that has that value. So it's like a bunch of color and nothing. But the most important thing is to not forget the steps, okay? Don't forget that the initial step is drawing. That's plain and simple. It's just going to draw. Second step is blocking our lights and our darks. Third step is just blocking in the darks. then finding the midtones, and then finally with the midtones, we have to look for the shape of the face, okay? And that's pretty much what this whole picture is all about. So if you guys haven't started, but you guys want to get going, you guys could start doing this one. I'm going to upload the video in some 20 or 30 minutes or so. So if you guys just want to go back to the video and the photo of my current work, you guys could definitely take a look at that. And any questions, if not today, that you guys might have, or any critique of the work that you might want, let me know, okay? I'm more than happy to help you with some of the drawing. If you just look for the technique and that's enough and you feel happy with what you find, that's fair with me too, okay? You guys could just start working on this, but just don't forget I'm here. So even though I'm not in the studio right now, I am around. So any questions that you have, just go ahead and let me know, all right? If, I mean, that's all that I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna eventually do that to the entire portrait. If that's all that you guys are gonna see today, that's gonna be it. And next week, let's hope to see some of the drawing going. And I'm probably gonna render it during the week if I start getting bored, and maybe just spend half or a little less than half of the class on this project. And I'll record whatever I render. That way you guys don't kind of like magic. It's like, what did you do? I didn't even see what you did, and now it's done. You know, I'll try to show you guys what I was doing. And if you guys have any questions, you guys could, again, just let me know, okay? But if you guys are not having any questions, and you guys want to get going with the drawing and the coloring part, it's a good time to do that, okay? Just don't rush. Remember, I work sometimes fast because I draw a lot. If you guys don't draw too much, you guys are drawing a little slower, take your time. I prefer you guys take your time and do a good job, then you guys go fast and do a kind of messy job, okay? And that's it. That is it, all right? So have fun at home, you guys. Hopefully I get to see you guys sooner rather than later. Keep your emails open and kind of check that stuff out. I'm usually gonna contact you guys by emails, letting you guys know of any changes that are going on in the studio. But hopefully I get to see you guys pretty soon. All right? All right, you guys, will have fun at home, and we'll call it a session for today. Remember, you guys could still work a lot more than what I did, okay? Or if you guys are struggling with your drawing, you guys could still tweak your drawing before you start using your colors, all right? Have a great weekend, you guys. Take care, and we'll hopefully see you next Friday, okay?
Okay, you good.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.